Hey everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Ashley and today we are going to be pickling some coleslaw. Typically when I process cabbage from the garden, I'm processing it and making sauerkraut or a veggie kraut or something like that. But today I'm going to try a totally different way of preserving it by canning it from the very beginning, and here's why. When I go through and I ferment a big batch of sauerkraut, I don't want to can that after I've already fermented it, because the canning process destroys all of that good all those good microbes and bacteria that is a really good health benefit of eating sauerkraut. So for me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to go through that whole process if I'm just going to can it. If I want to keep sauerkraut or a veggie kraut or a kimchi or something like that for a longer period of time, I would be storing it in my fridge. However, that becomes a bottleneck because my fridge space is pretty limited. And we like to also ferment things like cucumbers and make sour pickles and things like that. And I would much rather have those taking up our limited fridge space than sauerkraut and things made from cabbage. So I thought, as long as the gardening season isn't quite here yet and canning things from the garden is not something that I'm busy doing, I'm going to do another recipe experiment. So this coleslaw, I have seen people rave about. Canning coleslaw. You can eat it straight out of the jar like a snack. You can rinse it off and top something like tacos or burgers or something like that. You can add it to salads. You can make a creamy slaw dressing and eat it as a side dish, or you can just tweak the vinegar-based brine and also serve it as something to go along with the meal. So there's really a lot of different things that you can do with it. So what I did was I bought 2 cabbages, one green, one purple, from our local co-op. They're organic cabbages, and I went ahead and prepared them. Now this needed to go and be soaked with some salt overnight. So let's take a look at what I did yesterday in preparation for today. Initially, I was thinking maybe I'd separate out the green and the purple, but then I thought it would probably be a lot easier if I just do it all together. I also opted to add some carrots, as you saw, a little bit of onion, and then we also prepared our spice mixture. Now, I'm heating up on the stove a half and half white vinegar, apple cider vinegar, 2 cups of each. And once that comes to a boil, I'm going to boil the vinegar with these spices for 5 minutes, strain out the spices, and then that brine will be nice and infused with all of these really great flavors. And the vinegar liquid, without all of the debris here, is going to be the only thing that goes in the jars besides the vegetables. When I'm gardening, I really like to maximize my efforts, because gardening can be a lot of work. I think it's fun, but the reality is it takes time. And so if I'm producing something, I want to make sure that whatever I'm planning to do with it, we are going to love. And so for me to be able to experiment with a recipe with these vegetables from our co-op is a lot lower risk than having grown a bunch of cabbage, all to go through this canning process, and then us to not really be that crazy about it. So I know there's lots of different brine recipes that you can use that gives this just a totally dynamic flavor. You can make it spicy, you can make it sweeter. There's a lot of different things that you can tweak to make it really customized to the way that you like it. The most important thing, I think, is the vinegar and making sure that the acidity of the vinegar is not diluted. So if we like this pickled cabbage recipe, then I know that I can plant more cabbage because I have a specific plan of what I'm going to do with it, or I can keep my eye out for local farmers who may be selling cabbage when it's coming into season, grab a bunch and do a bunch of this coleslaw. Today I'm not going to show too much of the canning process because I have other videos where I show a little bit more detail, and I can link those below. I have broth videos where I'm doing pressure canning, both vegetable, chicken, but I also have a salsa canning video, and that is water bath. So I show a little bit more detail there. If you'd like to see a more technical video on the canning process, please let me know in the comments, because I can certainly do that and do a much slower walkthrough on the detailed process for canning. Now that my cabbage has been sitting overnight, I'm going to rinse it off, rinse out that salt, and drain it really well. Then I'm going to go ahead and incorporate my carrots and get this coleslaw packed into my pint jars. Well, things do not always go as planned. We had that one jar break, and really, it's really not that common to have a jar that breaks. I was a little surprised that it happened. But I guess the silver lining is that I was able to give this a try, and even though it's recommended to let this sit at least 2 weeks, up to 4, the flavor today was really, really good. It is very vinegary, and so depending on how this tastes vinegar-wise when it comes out, we might try to cut that down a little bit, maybe drain a little off or something. But the flavor is really, really good. That brine mixed with all of those spices and seasonings made such a delicious flavor. So whenever I can anything, I always make sure that I wash my jars. Once these are cooled down tomorrow, I'll wash these, especially because there was a jar that broke in here. Based on my taste test from today and just how this process went, this is definitely something that I'm going to want to put up in the fall whenever cabbages start ripening, and so that we can have this delicious food on our pantry shelf. It's shelf stable, doesn't require refrigeration, doesn't require a freezer, so that's a really great way to incorporate other foods. In terms of keeping food around for your family, I haven't decided if I'm going to grow the cabbage or if I'll try to get it from a local farmer. But either way, this is definitely something that I'm going to want to do, and we'll probably play around with the brine a little bit. I think that the flavor is really good, but I know that there's a lot of other really good recipes out there. So it might be kind of fun to try a small batch of something different. But for now, this is something that is super tasty, and we're really excited to have it on our pantry shelves. If you'd like to see more canning videos, more of what comes out of my kitchen, there's lots of gardening videos coming up as well. Please subscribe, and we will see you soon.